Wow. Hi everyone, Sue from 1A Auto, and now that you've heard that noise, maybe you have it, maybe you don't have that noise, but I want to tell you what a strut mount is. This is one of them right here. It's not for this car, but they all do the same job, and they put a bearing between the strut and inside the car. So what happens is this pivots like this when you turn the wheel. Make sense? Right? But right in here is where the problems occur. There is loads of little bearings on most of them, and the bearings get broken down. They use plastic seating. You've got weather conditions. You've got lack of grease, just wears out. You cannot grease them, so don't try. And they're just gonna break down. It's like everything in this world, right? We all break down. So when you hear that grinding, or a grinding noise only when you turn the wheel, you can do it in a parking lot. You don't have to be driving, because a strut mount is a still item, so you can check it in a parking lot if you still hear it, or when you're rolling. If it only happens when wheels spin, then we know we're going to go to a wheel issue. But this happens sitting still in a parking lot and turning. You hear creaking or growling. That's going to be in the top of this strut for this particular model. So we have an actual driver's complaint, and the symptom is like drifting when you take a corner, which we talk about when we're going to road test it. I'm going to show you what drifting means. Not the nowadays race car drifting, but an actual, I call it rolling. Some people call it drifting. I like to consider it rolling into a corner. That means that the strut, which plays a big part in it, sway bar links play a part in it, is not holding its side up. A strut is a negative force both when it's working up and when it's working down. It's kind of like Nautilus working out, right? If you've ever done that, you need to go negative 3 seconds down and negative force 3 seconds up. It's not a quick raise and then drop, quick raise. That's what a strut does. Strut has a gas charge strut with an actual plunger in it, and then you've got the coil spring on the outside. That coil spring wants to go like this, and it gets compressed to come down to here, so the whole time it's like wants to expand out. But the strut going through the center is loaded with this gas and oil that keeps that piston up in the air. So it has a negative force, negative and negative, negative and negative. So you, the customer or the owner, has a great ride. Well, this person's complaining about kind of feeling a little bit out of control when they take a corner. So let's check the front end out, confirm it's safe to drive, and we'll do our road test. So now that I'm gonna check out the front end, first thing I wanna do is, on this particular car, we have a covering. You know, they make it look really fancy in here. Oh. That explains it, right? But I'm going to take the cover off, and I want to show you the strut cap, and then we'll diagnose this and how to diagnose one that you can do at home with a floor jack. I'm just going to put that up there. Take this covering a little bit out of the way, and there she is. Voila! That's a strut cap. This right here is the center of the strut and the nut that holds it on. So let's raise it up. We'll check the front end out to make sure it's safe to drive and there's nothing obviously broken. And then I'll give you a quick little trick on how to check that out. So now we have it up in the air, and I have it at a nice level from my height. Yep, I'm short, but it works. And I know that I'm gonna diagnose something. I'm checking things out. I'm gonna go from the source where I already know there's an issue. So I'm gonna look at this strut. I'm gonna make sure that this coil is not busted. They crack a lot, they'll break. All right, so we have tons of, obviously, road sand and salt on this. It is wintertime here in New England. But, so you want to start from the top, feel the spring, see if you have any movement. Well, I kind of have movement there. I know I'm strong, but I'm not that strong. So I'm going to follow it down. I can't quite see the seat, but I'm going to bring it down and just feel. Listen, I didn't even plan this. I'm not lying to you. I think we have a broken spring. I'm pretty excited, so let me get a mirror and a flashlight, because if I'm confirming this, I already diagnosed it. Meaning I'm done, I think, but I gotta check the rest of the front end out. But this will confirm everything this person's been talking about. Let me get a mirror and a flashlight. And I'm gonna show you a little bit more diagnosing, another thing you can do if you're unsure of something. So I've got my coil spring up there, I can see it. It runs all the way down. Comes down into the seat right here. I don't know if you can see that with the camera. And then it goes around to the base seat. And see what I just felt with my hand? Look at that sharp piece of metal right there. That's broken, because a coil spring doesn't have a sharp piece to it. It's a nice clear cut end. and then it should go coil all the way around to that rubber seat, over to that stopper. See that rubber piece right there? That, my friend, is a stopper, a rubber stopper for the seat of the strut. So now let's go and compare it to the other side. I haven't looked at it yet, so let's see what we find. And before I do that, real quick note, instead of wasting time, let's count or feel the distance between the spring, okay? Because if I'm missing a piece of spring also, if this was all completed, it might be tighter coil, and now it's wider. So average 3 fingers. Let's go see what we got on the other side. Okay, so now we're on the other side here. This is the driver's side. And I can visually tell by, just my trained eye and just what I can see. Hopefully you can see it also in the photo, or the video, shall I say. So I had 3 fingers and it was like smooth as butter going in. Look at this. It's hitting my knuckles. I can feel my bottom finger here, my ring finger, already rolling over just to get in there. So I took a measuring tape and I went to the other side and I measured. And you can see that right now. And now I'm going to show you on this side. I know I sound really excited because I kind of am. I'm pretty excited that this is working out. Because it's not every day you can always confirm something so quickly when there's a complaint about a car. So over on the other side, I had 2 1/4 from the bottom to the top. And here I have like 1 7/8. I'm not a carpenter, so don't write hate mail. But it's definitely tighter over here, which it should be. If you don't know if it's broken, just measure the coil of the coil spring. And this should be even an 1/8 or 1/4 inch difference is a problem. We have a problem here. All right, so now I'm 90% sure this one's not broken. It could be cracked. Either way, I always do struts in pairs. They're kind of like shoes, right? Buy one new shoe and put the old shoe on the other foot. You want them to be equally same strength. One could be worn out, but not broken. So let's get the mirror. We'll bring the mirror in there, and I'm going to bring up my light so I can see better. And I'm going to watch that coilation go all the way around the base of this strut and find whether, there's the rubber piece right there. And this is not broken at this time, but I'm going to replace it because I'm doing a pair. So if you can look right there, there's what I'm talking about. That spring should be butted up against that rubber stopper, which is just a rubber seat for the bottom of the strut. It stops it from actually metal to metal. But this is what happens here, unfortunately, in our kind of weather we deal with, is a lot of sand and salt sits in there. And, well, you didn't have to pass 8th grade physics to know that sand and salt and steel do not mix. So let's check the rest of the front end out. And we'll do a quick road test just to confirm that there's nothing else, because we could have wheel bearing howl also. So I want to check my suspension completely over so I'm not just doing one repair and then having someone come back saying, I still have a problem. All right, so now I'm just going to run over real quick how I do a front end check. I raise the vehicle up. If it's a truck, I do need a jack so that I can actually support the lower control arm. But with this one, I can totally check it in the air. And if I turn the wheel, I'm checking tie rod ends right now, and I go like this, you can actually hear the other strut cap. It is so bad because it has no pressure against it. So it's got an air gap in there so that the bearings aren't rolling on bearings on now. We're rolling on probably the outside of that rubber cap. Instead of flat like this and rolling on the bearings where it's smooth, it's bowed because there's no pressure pushing that cap up together, those two pieces together. So I have no wheel bearing and no tie rod end, inner tie rod end. You sometimes will feel it up in the air, but most of the time, the only time and the only way to really check an inner tie rod end is down on a level ground and you want to turn the wheel. So I like to put like a trash bag if you're on tar or cement. You could put like a green trash bag. It doesn't have to be green, it can be white. But a trash bag, plastic, if you don't have bearing plates, which they're not cheap. You put it down on that and you just grab that wheel and you give it a slight side to side from 9 to 3 o'clock. And if you can visually see the steering wheel, that steering wheel should not be moving if you have a bad inner tie rod end. If you have a good inner tie rod end, that steering wheel will be going just like this because you've got a straight, tight connection up to that steering shaft. If you're turning that wheel and you feel play and that steering wheel straight, you got an inner tie rod end. So now I'm going to check the other side, do the same one I just did here, lower it, I'll check the inner tie rod ends, and then we're going to go on that road test. So not all strut symptoms are the same. In this one, we want to talk more about the symptom of drifting, or shall I say rolling into corners. So I'm on a pretty fun country back road here, and I have a beautiful frozen river or pond But man, is this great S-curves. So by going through these S-curves, I can feel the car kind of drifting or rolling further than it needs to. I'm not even going fast. I'm doing all of 30, 35. But on a country road, it's enough to feel it. And on the highway, it's enough to feel actually dangerous. So the other thing is that now that I know what the real problem is going to be here, I'm kind of excited too, because I can just go to 1aauto.com and get this whole strut assembly. Because even though I have the machine, I'm going to tell you, I don't care for using it. I can be, I don't know, lazy, I guess, and use the whole strut assembly. It's less time, it's faster, and it has the strut mount on it, has a new coil spring, has the strut, and I don't have to worry about compressing the spring, taking the nut off, putting the strut in. Yeah, it can be done, but you gotta have the right tool. And that tool that they sell, the 2-clamp things. So if you wanna see what these tools look like, I'm just gonna have a shout out to Lenny, because Len did a video on this. It's very comical. Even the thumbnail, I still see it to this day, makes me laugh. He shows you the proper way and the tools that are involved, the do's and the don'ts. But, you know, why even bother if you get a whole assembly? I know, I didn't forget. I said I was gonna show you a quick way to diagnose strut caps also. Now, I don't think we have a problem with the strut cap right now, because I found the broken spring. The strut cap is the end result of the broken spring making that noise. Now, if we kept driving, then I would probably have a broken centerpiece in the strut cap. But I explained already why it's probably making noise. It's kind of like your body, right? My foot hurts, doc. Well, your upper leg muscle's broken. I don't know. But the end result would be the foot, but it's not the foot that's caused the problem. But if you think you have strut banging noises, and you don't have a sway bar link problem, you don't think you have an internal strut problem, could be with strut caps. So let's check this out. I raised the vehicle, so you would do it with a floor jack. You'd raise the lower control arm up, bring the strut so like it's on the road, and then lower the jack completely. So however you need to do it, whether you have it all the way up and then jack it up, then let the jack down. We're looking right here for any motion where the strut cap moves up and down. It should not. So what I meant by when I said I'm going to lower the car, and we want to keep an eye on these strut mounts and to see if they move. I'm not talking about this outer ring here. I was really basically talking about this strut shaft right here. If the rubber is broken internally, or the plastic bearing pieces, they get all brittle and crumble, they separate, all that gives it an air gap. Okay, so that strut piece right here, the center shaft, should never move. If that whole thing is going up and down, then you have internal strut cap problems. Usually the rubber breaks and then the plastic separates. The other thing would be, is always look at the distance of the nut to the top of this center shaft on both of them. And you want them to be the equal, very equal amount of distance between the two. I've seen some come in where the nut is down probably not even 2 or 3 threads, and then that one's down about 18 threads. Well, we got a problem, because now we are not we're not as tight, it's not as equally tight. So we're gonna have movement in the one that's not as tight, and you're gonna have a thumping noise. And it will eventually destroy the strut assembly. Well, hopefully you were pretty excited about this video as much as I was. Yeah, I know I got a little crazy about a coil spring broken on a strut, but I am pretty happy about that, because I wasn't expecting it. So I'm pretty excited also because I know that I'm gonna have this job done within 2 days, because I'm gonna place my order at 1aauto.com for a complete strut assembly, and then in and out it goes, get in alignment, and ready for the road. So if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell, because then you won't miss any of this exciting content. Thanks for watching.